My name's Roy from the new federal state of China. We're Chinese, but we are the opposite of the Chinese Communist Party. I have one message to convey. The Chinese Communist Party does not represent China or Chinese people. It is the enemy of Chinese people, American people, and the people of the world. Our story can be traced back to 1989 Tiananmen Square. Our founder, Miles Guo, was arrested and jailed for supporting the protesters in Tiananmen Square. Alongside him, there were more than 60 people arrested. Those heroes were killed, executed, right in front of Miles. He could never forget the look in their eyes. It was a silent plea for someone to continue to carry their legacy and bring democracy and freedom to China one day. Miles survived, and many years later, he started a movement called the Whistleblowers Movement, with sole purpose of taking down the CCP. He started to reveal all the intelligence on the CCP, the heinous plans of the CCP. Of course, as a result, he became the most targeted and persecuted Chinese dissident, but he never stopped fighting. Chinese people are the biggest victims of the Chinese Communist Party. As we speak, millions of Uyghurs are jailed in concentration camps. Tibetans and youths are victims of pedophilia and organ harvesting. Hong Kong protesters or any other people who dare to speak against the regime will be disappeared, silenced, and executed. As we speak, over 400 million forced abortions were executed since the CCP adopted one-child policy. The Chinese people never had a chance to vote for their government. They never had the right to own land. They never had freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or rule of law. They became more than slaves of the CCP kleptocrats. But I'm here more than just sharing our own stories. I'm here to prevent our stories becoming American stories. The CCP has already infiltrated almost every aspect of the U.S. life. It has launched an unrestricted warfare against all of us. It unleashed a deadly virus that killed millions of innocent lives. Its fentanyl export is killing 300 American people per day. It spread the spy balloon above us, and its spying operations are almost everywhere, in media companies, in big tech, scientific institutions, universities, Hollywood, and Wall Street. It's behind wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. It formed a new axis of evil alliance with Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Your pension funds, your educational funds, your savings are being invested in Communist China right now, and the total number is a whopping $7 trillion. And Xi Jinping is more than ready to confiscate that money and give that to the terrorist groups and fan the flames of conflicts and seize the perfect opportunity to invade Taiwan. For the past 8 years, Miles and the whistleblowers from the NFSC have exposed the truth around Hong Kong crisis, HNA group, COVID, and COVID vaccines, and many more. Those warnings were not taken seriously enough. Every time we revealed this kind of information, I had hoped we were wrong, because if the information is wrong, a lot of people wouldn't have to die or suffer. But in the long run, it has always been proven, verified as true. And today, for the first time ever, I have 3 specific pieces of exclusive intelligence to share with you. And I urge you to listen very carefully to what I have to say and verify for yourselves through time. Number 1, you may have already heard the secret biolab in California. Actually, the CCP has already finished building 11 P3 biolabs in the Middle East, Africa, and South America. They have the capability to manufacture and unleash new viruses at Xi Jinping's command. That's the same kind of virus that already killed 6.5 million people. Number 2, CCP's military installations. The CCP has already deployed 3,500 ballistic missiles, the DF-10A series, in 3 countries in the Middle East, worth a total of $50 billion. There are 2,000 more currently in transaction and will be delivered to those regions. They even have production lines for those missiles in those areas. Additionally, the CCP has built no fewer than 20 nuclear ICBMs they deployed DF-41 series with nuclear warheads. They can reach the mainland US or any other country. Number 3, the Chinese Communist Party is behind the terrorist group in the Middle East. In Iran and Syria, the CCP has already built an army of 20,000 mercenaries ready for combat and to join Hamas. And each individual will be paid $10,000 per month by the CCP. And there are another 20,000 mercenaries ready to be deployed in the event of escalation between Israel and Hamas. The intelligence I just shared with you is brought by NFSC thanks to the courageous whistleblowers inside China. They risked their lives to bring those messages. And we invite you to witness the validity of the information through time. In the past, we have provided many similar pieces of intelligence to authorities. The information should have been disclosed by the US government, but due to CCP's infiltration, it failed. So we now have to come out and speak out. As our revelations continue to be verified, we now hope American people can join us in eliminating the Chinese Communist Party. And we're not asking you to give us money or arms or die for a revolution or wars. All America needs to do is very simple. Stop supporting the Chinese Communist Party. And decouple from the Chinese Communist Party technologically and financially. And leave the rest to the new Federal State of China. And we ensure you the elimination of the Chinese Communist Party in China. Today, hundreds of millions of people have joined our causes. The majority of them are working covertly in the party in China and supporting us. We have 21 chapters around the globe, and we are more united and determined than ever. And I truly believe soon enough, we'll stand atop the Beijing Pangu Plaza again and put Xi Jinping, the dictator, on a Nuremberg trial for his crimes and make it the devil's last night. That night, we will see the end of the evil communist regime. That night, we will reunite with our loved ones. And that night, for the very first time in history of that soil, we will see a free China, a new China, the new Federal State of China. Thank you.
Really want to hear from our 3 amazing guests, and we are going to start with David. So David, you are the General Secretary of NFSC and Chairman of Rule of Law Society. Please give us a brief introduction on both organizations and what you're doing to change the world.
I'll be David's translator.
Thank you. 首先要感谢一下 TPUSA， 包括我们 CEO 查理克克先生，还有我们所有的 TPUSA 的员工。
So first, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank TPUSA and its founder Charlie Kirk, and for all of the staff for giving us this wonderful platform to be here.
因为你们向全世界、向全美国人、向全中国14亿中国人展示了你们的勇敢、正义和智慧。
So by having us here, you're actually demonstrating an unprecedented level of courage and determination to fight for freedom in front of the 1.4 billion Chinese people living in communist China who are yearning to be free.
因为几乎所有全世界的人都知道我们行动联邦是干什么的，我们是灭共的，是跟全世界最邪恶的集团在战斗。不是每个人、每个组织都愿意跟我们接触，都愿意让我们到这个地方来。
So as everybody knows that the Chinese Communist Party is the world's most powerful and evil dictatorship, and not everyone has the willingness or the courage to be wanting to be associated with us, because this is a very big task.
所以说 TPUSA 是跟我们一样的勇敢。
So I like to say that TPUSA is just as courageous as we are.
还有，因为我们行动联邦是做正义的事情，所以 TPUSA 愿意跟我们合作，愿意邀请我们来到这里，所以 TPUSA 是非常正义的。
Because what we do here at NFSC, the new Federal State of China, is righteous, and by supporting us and by giving us this platform shows that the TPUSA is also a wonderful and righteous organization.
为什么说 TPUSA 所有的团队 都是智慧的，是因为现在所有的全世界都知道灭共是大势所趋。
I like to say that TPUSA, by making this decision, also shows their wisdom because it actually works for the best interest of the entire world to take down the CCP.
Yes!
那我首先来介绍一下我们新中国联邦这个组织。我们是全球国际化的，在全球有20个分支，在这个遍布主要的发达国家，包括美国有7个 chapter， 在加拿大、新西兰、澳洲、德国、西班牙、英国、意大利、日本、韩国、台湾，我们都有我们的分支。
So let me give you a brief introduction about what is NFSC. We're actually global. We're a global movement, and we have about 20 chapters from around the world. And here in the US, we have 7 chapters. We have members from US, Canada, New Zealand, UK, Spain, Germany, Japan, just to give you a few names. So we're global.
我们这个新中国联邦是2020年由创始人马尔斯国和 Stephen Bannon 先生一起创建的。
So our movement was co-founded by Miles Guo, a courageous Chinese man, along with Steve K. Bannon, a great American patriot, in 2017. Let's give them a big shout out.
新中国联邦从创建开始，我们的使命只有一个，就是灭共，消灭这个世界上最邪恶的集团。
From its very inception of the founding of this organization, we have one mission, one crystal clear mission, and that is to take down the world's most evil regime, that is the Chinese Communist Party.
我知道在座的各位过去肯定听过很多的组织和个人在说要反共，要灭共，但是我们是真正的灭共的集团，所以我们今天遭遇的一切都是最好的证明，我们是灭共的，而且是最有力的、最有能力去灭共的。
So I know a lot of people are talking about taking down the Chinese Communist Party. There are many anti-CCP organizations. So what's different about our movement? I mean, just by looking at what happened to us, you should know that we are the real fighters and we're the real terminators of the Chinese Communist Party.
我们不仅需要灭共，我们希望给14亿中国人能带来像在座的各位很多美国朋友一样，有1人1票的选举权，有自由的发言的权利。
So what we like to do is to help the 1.4 billion people in China to enjoy the same rights that you guys have been enjoying for life, like the right to vote, the constitutional protected First Amendment, and freedom of belief, and all the rights that are being enjoyed by people here every day. We want people in China to have that as well.
我们不会像其他的组织和个人一样，向美国政府和老百姓伸手要钱，因为我们有钱，我们有创造财富的能力。我们只想来保护14亿普通中国人和全世界善良的老百姓。
So we're different from other organizations in that we don't ask money. We don't ask for money. We don't ask for arms sales. We don't ask for anything from the U.S. government or the U.S. people because we have money. We have determination. We have people, and we also have the capability to create wealth and opportunity to sustain ourselves. So that's the key difference.
就像我们在2022年初的时候，我们花了将近200万美金到乌克兰波兰交界的地方去帮助乌克兰战火当中的老百姓。
So one of the many charitable things that we did is a couple of years ago when the war in Ukraine just broke out, we actually spent over $2 million and sent a group of volunteers to help with the international rescue work at the Ukrainian border in Poland. And that's how we care about humanity and peace. And so we're giving, we're doing charitable work.
给大家举一个例子，我们从乌克兰曾经救出来96个儿童，送到了西班牙的福利基金会。
So during that rescue mission, we successfully rescued 96 children from an orphanage in Ukraine. We brought them to Spain, and the kids are now enjoying a peaceful life. So that's one of the many achievements that we have done from that rescue mission.
像这样的事情，我们在过去的7年当中做了很多。马斯国曾经向全美国、全世界预告了，共产党的黑暗时刻已经到来。我们只想唤醒更多的美国人、全世界人，告诉他们，共产党已经到了你的家里，到你们的家门口，已经在杀人。
So there are numerous examples that I can give about how we provide humanity support and give back to this world. And for example, our founder, Miles Guo, he gave pre-warnings about the CCP's infiltration years ago, and he warned the Western democracy that CCP is coming. And now many of his predictions have become sad reality. And so we really want to help the world to better understand what is our most dangerous existential threat from the CCP.
就像在2020年COVID 来临之前，我们在2019年12月份，我们就向美国人、向全世界告诉了这个病毒一定会来，而且是会非常严重，来自于中共的实验室。但是到今天为止，我们依然还有很多人没有意识到这一点。
So back in 2019, before the global pandemic started, we pre-warned the world about the CCP virus, the virus that was manufactured in the Wuhan lab. And we warned the people, the entire world, about this risk to public health. And a lot of people are still not realizing this virus is manufactured and it's by CCP. It's a CCP virus.
但是很幸运的是，川普总统当时听取了我们新中国联邦的建议，实行了旅行暂停的计划。
So thankfully, President Trump, when he was in the White House, he took our advice and he issued the travel ban. And so that travel ban saved millions of American people's life.
This is absolutely amazing. Thank you. So I read a book called The 100-Year Marathon by Michael Pillsbury. Are you
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a book that everyone here should read right now about what China is doing, and it's called The 100-Year Marathon by Michael Pillsbury. It explains to you exactly what they're doing and what the plan is. That wasn't on here, but it just really elucidates what's happening. But my second question is for Nicole. You've been in this country for over 20 years. You're a U.S. citizen. You've worked in corporate America and in the federal government. What inspired you to join NFSC to confront the world's most powerful dictatorship?
Well, thank you for that question. I came here as a student more than 20 years ago. And at that time, I feel I was safe in America because the CCP's infiltration in the U.S. was subtle, was not that obvious. And I thought America is a safe haven for Chinese people who have a dissident view from the CCP. And so over the time, I found this country is becoming increasingly socialist. And as we can see from the US campuses and in schools and colleges, there are so many anti-Semitism, pro-Hamas, and according to a survey that more than half of the millennials in this country prefer socialism over capitalism, and that's starking. And so I felt that this country is no longer as free as it should be, and it takes a lot of people to take back that freedom. And coming from China, I'm fluent in Chinese language and culture, and I pledge my allegiance to the United States Constitution. So it is my duty to defend this country from any foreign adversaries. So that's why I quit my job with the federal government. I felt this movement is more meaningful and more helpful to my mission to serve the people. I believe in this country that it's the country by the people, for the people, and of the people. And I want to be part of the people's movement. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Of course. So Ava, you also quit your job. You're a Canadian citizen. You owned a small business. How did you learn about NFSC, and why did you give up all that you had and work so hard for to join this movement?
Yes, thank you for the question, because I think I realize my journey took me to a point that I realized if I'm not the solution, then I'm the problem. And now, once I identified the solution, so I want all in, and that's my personality. And going through this journey, it was such a personal transformation. I came to Canada, I remember. I spent my first summer in Rocky Mountain, beautiful, beautiful Banff. I'm sure a lot of people know because I saw Theodore, Canadian, my fellow countryman. So at that year, I was on the curbs in front of the Banff Public Library, and we were drawing. At that time, I took a hotel banquet job because I was a student, and then a girl from Taiwan, and we were drawing. I was drawing the Chinese national flag, red at the time, and she was drawing the Republic of China flag, which is blue and white. And I was very, very angry. And I confronted her, and I say, Taiwan is part of China. And what I did, which I could not even forgive myself today, is I grabbed her chalk and I threw it away. And that was me back in 2004. So I came a long way, and I wanted you to know, in China, I'm not atypical. Actually, I'm pretty typical back 2004, because they indoctrinate us. They put the fabricated history in the history book, and they taught us to hate, okay? So that's back then what I did. And then I'm so lucky in my journey, and I ran into Miles School, and at that time we call whistleblower movement. Basically, he's whistleblowing, revealing how on earth the communism system is working. Because as ordinary people living inside communist China, you have no clue, okay? The communists are really, really intelligent and smart. They figured it out. How are they gonna willingly take out of all your savings, all your wealth, and move it all offshore and for their own personal benefit? Okay, so through this revelation of Miles School, I had an aha moment. As David mentioned, at that time, I followed a lot of pro-democracy activists that doing their broadcast online. I've actually followed 4 or 5 of them. I listened to all of them, but only one person stood out for those years. After my own research, of my own studying, identify with Miles School, because everything he said is true and made sense. So I follow through and I start volunteer. I get more involved when I see those young Hong Kongers sacrifice their lives at 16, 17, even 15 years old. I said, well, I'm way older than them. If there's anything happened to me, I got a better deal. So that's why I joined the movement. From the very get-go, I thought this is a solution, and I know it is a solution, and this is the right man, and this is the right movement, and we're in a right time in history. Because 2019 did happen. COVID weapon was released by Xi Jinping and his Communist Central Military Commission. And yes, and Hong Kong was fallen, okay, just like a Hitler. Hitler tear off the Treaty of Versailles. What happened? You know, after 1934, he made advancement after advancement after advancement. That's exactly happened in this moment in history. That is why we are the solution. I'm so surprised that so many of you are eager to hear what we have to say in this country. So that's my version. Sorry, I took a little bit long. Back to you.
No, it's amazing. So Ava touched on, you touched on the whistleblowing a little bit, and that's what I want to ask David about. So that was one of the big things that NFSC did is, you know, you defined that axis of evil between the CCP, Russia, and Iran. How did this become a whistleblowing endeavor? Tell us where you are with everything now, and what are you looking to do in the future?
对，应该是我们新中国联邦最早是在这个媒体上，大概在今年的7、8月份，我们提出来了新的邪恶轴心国的建立形成了。
NFSC was the first to inform the entire world about the formation of the new axis of evil back in July, I believe, and that is the CCP, Russia, and Iran.
轴心国大家可以马上会想到这个二战时候的轴心国，德国。日本和意大利这3个主要的国家，那么现在对应的是谁呢？现在对应的是中国，对应的是俄罗斯，对应的是伊朗。
So most people who are familiar with the history of World War II, you know, the axis of evil was referring to Italy and Nazi Germany and Japan. And now corresponding to the historical axis of evil, we now have a new axis of evil that's consisting of the Communist Party in China, Russia, and Iran.
那我们重点就来讲中共国 CCP， 它今天所做的事情跟二战时候的德国有多么相似。
So let's draw a parallel between what happened during World War II, what's been done by the axis of evil back then, and to what is happening now with the new axis of evil, that is the CCP, Russia, and Iran.
德国应该是在一战以后，1919年以后签署了凡尔赛条约，但是很快它是撕毁了。而且不断的扩张，而且去侵略周边的国家。但是英国、法国和美国都保持了绥靖中立政策。
So as everyone who is familiar with the history can recall that in 1919, the Nazi Germany destroyed a peace treaty and started to act more aggressively. At the time, the democracy, the Western democracy, U.S., Canada, UK
and France.
And France, they have adopted appeasement policy, and so not confronting the Nazi Germany that allowed or invited more aggression from Nazi Germany.
今天的美国和欧洲和中共的关系，就像当年的美国、英国、法国对德国的关系，都是采取一种绥靖政策，允许他对西方的渗透。伤害西方的老百姓，甚至中国的老百姓，就像当年是一模一样。
So the Western policies toward communist China is pretty much the same as the appeasement policy from the World War II. The U.S. foreign policy toward communist China, along with other Western democracies, have been accommodating, appeasing, détente. So that actually enabled and emboldened the Chinese Communist Party.
德国在二战前，它的经济来源主要靠的是美国的贷款。
So during World War II, the backbone of Nazi Germany's economy is relying on the U.S. loans. So U.S. actually lended support to Nazi Germany's economic growth.
法国希望德国强大以后对付苏联，英国希望德国强大以后对抗法国。
So everybody has their own agenda to lend support to Nazi German. For example, France want Nazi German to help them to defeat their rivalry, and so is UK. So everybody has a selfish reason not to confront Nazi German, to support the growth of Nazi German.
今天中共国 CCP 的强大，主要是来自于美国的经济和技术支持。
So the sudden rise of the Chinese Communist Party is thankfully due to the support of the U.S. investment and U.S. technology. So it's the U.S. money and American technology that empowered, enriched, and emboldened the Chinese Communist Party.
华尔街给中共输送了数以万亿计的财富给他们，用于军事，用于迫害中国的老百姓，用于对西方的轻视。
So thanks to the Wall Street contribution, the CCP got hundreds of trillions of dollars to modernize their military, and that's all funded by the Wall Street. All of this investment and surrender technology to CCP actually hurt the American people, hurt American people's life and standard of living and economy, job. And so it just doesn't hurt the Chinese people, but also hurt we the people in this country.
所以是美国、英国、法国这几个主要国家培养了一个法西斯希特勒。今天是美国和欧洲培养了一个法西斯的习中国。
So without the help of the US and UK and France, there was no such a thing called Nazi German. And so similarly, without the US appeasement policy and the Western, countries' support and emboldenment of the CCP, there's no such a big threat that we're facing today from the Chinese Communist Party.
所以这就是我的解释，为什么今天邪恶轴心国已经建成，而且已经走到我们的家门口，气球已经飞到你们的门口，已经杀人到你们可能很多人都有亲人因为 COVID 已经去世了，很多人吃了芬太尼去世了，而且是年轻人。
So that's why I say the formation of the new axis of evil is so detrimental to American people's national security. It's actually coming to our living room. Some of you might have lost loved ones during the COVID, right? And we have saw the CCP spy balloon flying over the US sky, and they're buying the farmland near our military installation. And so the ubiquitous presence of the CCP's infiltration is really threatening.
Thank you.
Of course. So you were talking about the infiltration. You're all over the media, and it's sort of a two-part question. Do you think that the American people are understanding your message, but also in terms of that infiltration, the Belt Road Initiative, can you explain to everyone that's what it's called, right? The Belt Road Initiative. Yeah. And this wasn't on my paperwork, but I think it's really important for everyone to know. Can you explain what the Communist Chinese Party is doing all over the world, and are they understanding your message?
I think so, and I think a lot of people in this country are awakening to the threat of the Chinese Communist Party, and I think that that's pretty much one of the very few things that both left and right, because this country is very divided at this moment, but I think this is very common ground for people from all across the political spectrum who have come to the realization that our biggest enemy is our own failed policy toward the communist China. So when we're talking about the threat and the migrants crossing the open border in southern states, let's not blame those people who are crossing the state. Let's blame on our own failed policy. We need to fix our own policy issue so that we're not going to embolden and enriching our biggest enemy. And so I want to comment on your question about the Belt and Road Initiative. As we know that everybody has been paying attention to the military crisis in Middle East. Guess what? Israel is one of those many countries who have signed on the Belt and Road Initiative. Italy, many countries.
Middle East, Africa.
Exactly, and many countries in Europe. So that initiative is actually called the Global Colonization Project. And the CCP is infiltrating the railroads, the ports, and everything so that they want to control the entire world. So they have an ambition, not just to take down America. Right. They want to take down the entire free world by destroying our way of life. And another important thing, infiltrating, and about the media. And so I don't see any mainstream media coming to cover this event because they have been bought and owned and paid for by the CCP.
That's right. You see LeBron James not standing for our national anthem. Yeah. But if it was the Chinese national anthem, because he's bought and paid for, he'd be standing right up.
Yes, and Hollywood, we're talking about in the Hollywood celebrities, and they've been censoring the film, and CCP owned AMC. I mean, the CCP owned the Smithfield, meat processing. I mean, 90% of our pharmaceutical precursors are dependent on CCP supply chain. So we are dependent on our enemy for our life-saving crucial, supply chain. That is dangerous. So we got to hold our elected officials for their accountability. We have to each and every one of you must call your senators, your congressmen, and ask them to correct the past mistake and make sure that they're elected to represent we the people, not the CCP in Beijing.
Amen. So just to back up for everybody, so basically the Belt Road Initiative, China is going into every country in the world and taking over for financial gain of these small countries, their roads, their bridges, their oil, their everything. So they are infiltrating themselves into every country in the world. They have a fingerprint right there.
Yeah.
And they're not just there on a benevolent mission to help those countries.
No.
They are there to take over and colonize.
Yes.
So be very aware of that.
Yep.
It's not an act of kindness. So my next question is for Ava. So the NFSC first stated that the CCP doesn't represent the Chinese people. Can you explain exactly why that is?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, because that question is very important. And I want every single one of you leaving today have a changed behavior, okay? So let's learn it together. The reason why we want to separate the Chinese Communist Party from China and Chinese people, the reasons are the Chinese government want to purposefully confuse you. They want to binding all three concepts together, so they have the perfect human shield. Okay, so when sanction comes, they would hide behind the people. They would hide behind the country called China. But the truth is, the Chinese Communist Party is not a homegrown political movement. The Soviet Union sent their advisor in 1921. They sent them to China at that time, and then they recruited 11 Chinese, very gullible and prone to be brainwashed by communism. And one of them is renowned Mao. Okay, the dictator Mao was among the one of the 11 that Soviet Union recruited. So after the 28 years of their infiltration work, they successfully lied to the people, which are very poor and impoverished country. It's easy to lie because you only have to offer them food and then they will follow you. They think that you are the solution and the hero. So until 1921 all the way to 1949. Okay, so Chiang Kai-shek lost the battle. Guess what? Because the United States did not support Chiang Kai-shek in 1945. That's the Chinese Civil War. So, but on the other hand, the Mao, the Red Army, had full support from the Soviet Union. Weapon, funds, training. So that's why those communists successfully took China. And ever since that, they started killing the Chinese people. Ever stopped violence, bloody history of the last 74 years. So I think if you actually read a history book, you would be amazed how brutal this regime is towards their own people.
Yep.
Because this evil communist ideology, Chinese people never voted, never given an opportunity to vote. So that is why we want you to know that CCP does not represent the Chinese people even for one day. They only represent their own interests. That is why they come up with all those policies and schemes to steal our wealth. Under communist, I want you to remember, there's two features. One, we call them nationalized private wealth. Okay, they come up with all the smart ways to steal from everyday Joe. Nationalized private wealth, and then individualized state power. Okay, so you have all the states supposed to serve and protect people, but if a small group of people seize those power, they serve those small group of people. So that's come up from the two core values written in Communist Manifesto by 1848 by Karl Marx, which is abolish private property. The second one is central planned economy. So what Americans think by engaging free trade, you will enrich China, you will enrich Chinese people, you were under an incorrect assumption. The reason why is the Chinese top officials, they control the economy and market. How much Chinese people buy, what the parents grow, what the parents would grow, and how much they have to sell to the government at what price, they're all determined by one party state. So by engaging in the free trade, you only enrich a very small people on the top, and they will determine how to distribute the wealth in the country. And guess what? They give only 1%, maybe even less than 1% of the wealth to the 1.4 billion people. That is why we have half of the country, we have more than half of the population living in extreme poverty. Okay, that's why I want you to understand, CCP does not equal to China. CCP does not equal to Chinese people. And the Chinese people has been waking up because of this movement. And now I'm going to say CCP does not equal. Could you all start saying CCP does not equal? You know what to say, right? Let's try that, okay? Once, CCP does not equal. CCP does not equal.
Chinese.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You guys are so inspiring. I want to follow up with something. So whenever the Chinese Communist Revolution took over, didn't they first kind of use the students, right? They indoctrinated all of the students. And guess what happened? They fell for it, just like we see happening at Harvard and all of our colleges here. But when that happened, the students then became a little too powerful communism. Yeah. Did they or did, and whoever wants to answer this, did they or did they not then exile those people to the farmlands? Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much so. And
so they use, so they use these people like they're using CNN now and our college professors and, you know, a derogatory term, useful idiots.
And the useful idiots during the Cultural Revolution is called Little Red Guards.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's true. That's what they did,
Yeah.
right?
In the very beginning of the revolution, because you know, 1949, majority of the country is illiterate, so we don't even have a student at that time. But yes, Red Guard did come in Cultural Revolution, but they used peasants, illiterate peasants, because the country at that time, 1949, so 80% or to 90% of the population was peasants. My time is up, but we can talk into this if you're willing to get to know more. We can talk after the session. Thank you.
So very quickly, the last very important question for David is, we want to take down the CCP. Let's tell us what, in the last couple of minutes, how we're going to do that.
我们要消灭中共，我们怎么做？
首先在座的各位都可以帮我们去做很简单的事情，大家可以做的就是让更多的美国人、更多的美国的政府的人员、机构、政府的这些机关都了解中共已经到了家门口，已经在杀害这个全世界的人，他们已经组建了邪恶轴心国。
So actually, how to do that? Every and each one of you can help. How to do that? Spread the word and tell your family and friends about the threat of the CCP. The CCP is coming to your doorstep, and everybody can, you know, spread the truth, and especially tell your elected government officials and your local state representative, your congressmen and senators and U.S. government agencies to help them better understand the threat at your personal level, in your community, and all levels.
我们不希望花美国政府的钱，也不希望花普通老百姓的钱，更不希望用美国的普通的老百姓的儿女送到前线去为14亿中国人的自由去牺牲。
So we do not want to send American people's sons and daughters to go fight in China and die. We can prevent this kinetic war by decoupling from the CCP, by changing our policy. We are not asking the U.S. government to give us money or support with us the arms sale. All we need to do is to use the truth. The truth will prevail, and, you know, ask your government officials to stop engaging with the CCP.
我们行动联邦在全球有数以百万计的支持者和成员，我们也在中国国内也是数以百万计的体制内的战友在支持我们，情报在支持我们。 我们有能力、有实力、有经济来支持我们的灭共行动，而且我们也愿意为此去做。
This movement is massive. We have hundreds of millions of supporters worldwide, and we also have millions of insiders, people who are working inside the Chinese government, the military. They are our silent friends, and people want to destroy that regime from within. And so we can take down the CCP, within our own financial means, with our own people and the resources. We're confident that we can take down the CCP.
只要美国能斩断中共在美国的所有的手脚，只要能跟他们脱钩，不要给他们任何经济和技术的支持，我们就一定能把中共推翻。
So we're not asking U.S. on how to support us. We just ask you not to support the CCP. And it's very easy to do so. The CCP has placed hundreds of trillions of dollars assets in the U.S. They have their spy operations, and Wall Street has been funding that region. And all we have to do is just stop the funding, stop the support, and decouple. That's how easy it is. This is the most peaceful way to disintegrate the CCP without having to send American sons and daughters to go die to fight another foreign war.
很多人会担心脱钩以后，美国失去了中国的市场，没有生意可做。我可以告诉大家，脱钩以后，有了新中国，把这个合作、这个利益交给美国和中国的老百姓。
So there has been a theory talking about, if we disengage the CCP or decouple from the CCP, the world will be in chaos. The world economy will collapse. That's not the truth. So the truth is that once we take down the CCP, all the trade policies and economic relations and diplomatic relations will benefit the people from both countries. Now they're not benefiting people in this country, not benefiting the Laobaixing in China. It's only benefiting the ruling party, the CCP kleptocrats, and the global elites, and Washington's permanent political establishment. And that's why we need to drain the swamp.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole, Ava, and David. Oh, thank you. Take down the CCP!